Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Cleveland Courts. Before we get started, we're going to introduce our President of Basketball Operations, Koby Altman. So we'll give a brief statement. He will then turn it over to Coach Atkinson. We'll open up for questions after that. So without any further ado,
Thank you everyone for coming. Once again, Cleveland Courts for a very special day. To introduce Kenny Atkinson to the Cavaliers family. First, I want to introduce or at least thank his family for being here. Laura, Annika, and Anthony, we welcome you. We're excited to grow with you, and you're gonna love it. You're gonna absolutely love Cleveland. It's gonna be home for you guys and some special years for you guys as well. So. Really excited to welcome you guys to town. With Kenny, we're going to do a very extensive and thorough process to land Kenny. We spoke to several really, really good candidates. Some will be future head coaches, some already were, and some tremendous candidates, but all roads led back to Kenny. He is modern, innovative. He's the right fit for this group. We love his background, obviously the head coaching experience, but when you think about the coaches that he's worked under, obviously the head coaching experience, the international experience, his innovative approach to the game just really spoke to us. And we're excited, we couldn't be more excited to welcome you here. He's the right fit. Right match for this roster and this group, and some really exciting basketball is upon us here. And so, just wanted to thank Kenny and welcome him to Cleveland officially. And congratulations, Coach. We couldn't be more excited.
Thanks, Koby. Thank you, everybody, for coming on this beautiful day in Cleveland. Yes, I'd like to start off by thanking Koby and his group. Brandon and Mike. It was a fair process, an interesting process, an exhilarating process. As I got to know them, as the process went on, I felt more and more comfortable. And to get to this day is it's an amazing opportunity. Because we all know the talent that is on this team, the culture they've built. What really intrigued me about this job to begin. I'd also like to, thank Dan Gilbert. Obviously, they've had incredible coaches here, incredible tradition, incredible players. So, for him and his family to give me this opportunity to be a part of that, legendary program is just thrilling. Last people I'd like to thank are the other Golden State Warriors. Steve Kerr, the Lakers family, Mike family. Your path in this league takes a lot of different, ways. And my experience with the Warriors, made me a better coach. Obviously, winning a championship. So I'd like to thank them because they've been great throughout this whole process.
we are now open for questions. Please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Give us your name and your outfit. So the folks will get a chance to put a face with your name. Sharon has microphones on this side. Sam has microphones on this side. First question.
Hi, Kenny. Tom Witters, Associated Press. So what did you and Donovan Mitchell talk about this week?
We had a great sit down. We also have, a little bit, the East Coast similar background. We didn't grow far from each other, really, if you think about it. So right off the bat, felt a great connection. Talk about personal stuff, family, his family, my family. So it was really like a great get to know you session.
I'm a South Shore of Long Island guy.
Oh, hey, what town?
West High School.
All right, that's not far away.
Yeah. Typically, when the coach takes over, it's a rebuild. It's coming off of a losing season. You're inheriting a solid roster here. How different is that for you as a coach to kind of take on this kind of a project now?
It's the next challenge. That's, when you talk about your evolution as a coach, I had the Brooklyn situation. The good thing, like Koby said, I do have experience as an assistant, and I think of our Atlanta Hawks team, that was kind of get to the next level. So I've seen that model, but this is different. This is like I stated in the beginning. This is a fantastic roster, and the culture they built here is in place. And like I told Koby when I interviewed, I said I'm just coming here to give it a little more of a push. There's so many things, great things in place. So excited about it.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. Hey, Kenny. Welcome to
Chris.
Cleveland. What is your ultimate vision for a Kenny Atkinson team?
I think first thing, and when you first get to a team, it's really get to know your players, like establish the relationships. And I know Koby and I are before we talk about tactics and what style of play, but it's really that. And in fact, I really believe that's, it's a big part of player development is first establishing the relationships. I'm going full in on that, going to see Donovan and going out there and seeing some of the guys. That was our first task. So that's the first part of it. And then as I get to know them better as players, I'm going to, me and my staff are going to figure out what fits best. And there's a lot of good things in place. There's some really great basketball. There's a great basketball identity in place, a great defensive identity. So we're going to have to figure out where are we winning on the margins. What are the margins? Where can we get better? I always think it starts with, I'll kind of quote Donovan's old college coach, Rick Pitino. It starts with if every guy gets a little bit better, every individual gets a little bit better. That's how you can make the next step. And then I think we'll have a strong staff that'll make the tactical adjustments that we need to make to move this thing forward.
And speaking of that, in today's day and age where pace, space, some small ball, how do you make two bigs that are traditionally non-shooters work nowadays?
Yeah, you're right. The league is changing, right? The league is changing fast. It's a faster league. There's no doubt about it. I will say our kind of unique situation here, we got two bigs that are fast. They're just not big guys. They're knowing Jared really well. I mean, that was the thing to track. He can really get it. Evan is a 400-meter sprinter. Like he's got incredible speed for his size. I will say my experience in Golden State, I think, is going to really help. We played, Draymond and Looney together a lot. We won a lot of series like that. So knowing how to use those two is going to be important because we want to keep that defensive identity. We want to keep that base. That's so important. Now it's and part of my job is going to figure out how can we get those guys, that group with the two bigs to be more efficient offensively.
Daryl Ryder, 92.3 The Fan.
Hey,
Kenny, welcome to Cleveland.
Thank you.
Off of Chris's question, I'll ask you about the two guards, Donovan and Darius. There's a lot of external conversation about those two players elevating their games, more so Darius than Donovan. So how do you get with the two bigs and basically the core four on the floor together? How do you have them all singing and dancing at the same time?
Well, that's what they're going to pay me for here. You have four all-star. Evan will be an all-star. I think we all know that. So you got four all-stars. We got to make it work, and that's part of the reason I'm here. I've already spoken to Darius multiple times, and I'm just a huge fan. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he destroyed us when we were in Brooklyn. He's obviously a great shooter, excellent, underrated passer. So it seems like something that when you have multiple ball handlers, and again, I'll hark back to my Golden State experience. Steph and Jordan Poole, like you have a lot of pieces, but the talent's there. So it's just we're going to work on tweaking this where we maximize those guys. But I just love both of them together, quite honestly.
And you come in, as you were asked about, to bring this to the next level.
Yeah.
what is it about how you develop relationships with your players that has made you so successful over the years?
Let's see. I think I'm a player advocate. I know that sounds, well, shouldn't every coach be a player advocate? But I love that more than anything, the interaction with the individual player. I love to, obviously got to form a team and chemistry, but getting that bond with an individual player and then seeing them grow. I think that's why, at the end of the day, that's why we're in this. Sure, love, yes, championships, love it, team success, great, but seeing and I think players feel that, like, I want you to get that next contract. I want you to get paid. That's really, a big part of it. So I think when they feel that passion, and part of that is getting out there with, are you in the mix with them? Are you rebounding for them? Are you, contested shots? I want to, I'm not going to shy away from my kind of on-court, development background. I'm going to be in the mix. I'm going to take individual sessions with these guys. I'm going to keep that bond and keep growing that bond and then challenge them, right? Like, that's the last part of it. I do think, I know that line where you have to challenge and push a guy to get to the next level.
Jason Lloyd, The Athletic.
Hey,
just
Jason.
with Evans specifically, what have you seen from him offensively that you like? And what else is there to get? How do you get more?
He's so multi-talented, right? And so and that was a big part of our discussion, right? And during the process, how to get him to the next level. And I think, first of all, he's 22 years old, so he's just naturally going to grow. So that's exciting, just with the talent. But I do think we can schematically get the ball in his hands more, quite honestly, and it's going to be in multiple ways. I think when you have a guy that versatile, it could be him in transition, bringing the ball up. It could be him handling in a 5-out situation more, him handling and pick and roll. I think there's creative things we can do to help him. I know I've spoke with him. He's excited about it. But there's definitely just his general usage, I think can go up, and we have to figure out, the best positions to put him in. But it's like I can't wait to get on that task, because I know that's a big part of us, taking that next step we're talking about.
Donovan is an incredible player. He's a top 15 player in the game. Does Evan have to be the best player on this team to be a championship contender? Or can you do it with Donovan?
Can do it with Donovan. He's, MVP. You got one MVP. And I think that's the league, right? It used to be, you used to have to have 3. I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it's working. Yeah, I don't, you look at other teams, like that's not necessarily the model, but like you said, you got a top 15. But my thing is, I don't know where Donovan ranks in that. Or you getting him into my job is let's get you into the top 15. And what's great about this situation is the roster that's in place, there's enough. There's enough to take that next step. No doubt about it. But Evan's a big piece of that. And I'm going to feel a huge responsibility to help him get to that, top 15, top 20, whatever it is. And who knows, top 5, why not? With the skill level and the athleticism and the human being, I don't see why we can't.
Eden Sands, Cleveland.com. Kenny, just understanding that you have had experience with some of the guys on this roster, Kerr and Jared Allen, and you spoke of creating a culture and helping grow this culture that's already built. How does having relationships with some of the guys already on this team help you just get into the vibe of this team early on?
I think it's huge. It's like that first day of school when you come in and somebody maybe that went to your elementary, right? You're like, oh, I can actually sit at the table with these guys. But it's more in Jared and Kerr. I haven't been in this league a while now. You develop relationships with guys from other teams, believe it or not. So Max Strus, I have a relationship with him. Am I not like Harris and Jared? George, I know, Darius, I talk to him during the game sometimes. So there is from afar that kind of mutual respect, hey, I respect your game. I like how you coach type deal. So I not only Karras and Jared, I kind of feel like I know a lot of these guys, even Donovan, like, competing against him in the playoffs before. You just, they know who's on the bench on the other side. So that's another reason to have a comfort level. And I'm feeling that right off the bat, like just getting on the phone with these guys. I'm like, yes, this is going to work. So.
You've also spoken about the importance of the assistant coaches that you have for this team. What is your mindset when bringing other guys in to help you along the way?
Yeah, I just want to surround myself with, obviously coaches with positive energy. That's the first thing. I think surround myself with player advocates, and I think, it takes a group to do this. It does as a coaching staff. Sure, I'm kind of leading it, but I think one of my strengths is being super collaborative. I lean on ideas. I love information. I love when coaches bring me information. This is definitely not going to be a top-down situation. So more importantly, it's more important to bring in a strong staff, and we're going to do that. We're already already down the road with the group, and we got some great coaches here. So that's a challenge for us to streamline this, so we get the best coaches around a top level group.
Joe Gabriel, Cavs.com.
Hey Joe.
How you doing? Coach, before you even took the reins last week, your first official job as coach, you were in the draft room, I understand, and you kind of helped with the picking of Jaylen. What are your thoughts on him as your first rookie coming in?
Well, when we picked him, within 5 minutes, I got 25 texts from am I allowed to say this? Yeah, I never know, like, the rules, like, is he, and just what an incredible pick. Like, right. And that's like, because I've been involved, I've been with Team France and all that. So I wasn't watching the draft and listen with Koby and their history of Brandon, their history of drafting guys. I felt pretty, it was the best draft I ever had. I could just kind of like come in there. Yeah. Like, man, so I felt good about it. Then when I got the text from people I really respect in the league, that this guy's really good. And then the last part of that, I called Mark Mattson, who I know from along, and it was like we got 20 minutes on the phone. I of course, college coaches support their guy, but it was like over the top. Like, he's really excited. Now he told me he was going to be in the rotation this year. That's how. And I said, Mark, the NBA is pretty good, and who knows? But I thought that's how much he liked him. So that's pretty cool.
And you said you kind of fell in love with the culture here. What do you see as the culture here, and how can you kind of build on it?
Listen, when you go from it's being in the league, right? So people talk in the league, and I watch from afar, right? When I'm playing the Cavs, and when you go from, was it 22 wins or 22 wins to conference semifinals, the trajectory is, quite honestly, these guys have not gotten enough credit, because I think I know how hard it is to make that jump. I mean, that's an incredible jump, an incredible 5 years. Obviously, after the, LeBron championship, all that, and then to kind of reboot and build not only a team that's on the rise and made a huge jump, but the culture's got to be good, and then knowing the players that are in place, the personality. So you're doing it with high character players. And I don't say that light. I don't just say that. I know it, because, when you go for these jobs, you do your background. They do their background on me. I do their background. I was like, man, remember Koby, when I walked in, the first thing I said, I want this job. I'm going for it. And I'm going to be aggressive, because I knew all the kind of great things that were in place.
Terry Pluto from the Cleveland Plain Dealer.
Hi, Terry.
Kenny, how many times did they interview you, or can you talk a little bit about the process?
Yeah, I think, there were phone interviews to kind of get to know you, interviews, Zoom, couple of Zooms, and then in person, a long in-person situation. So we spent a lot of time together.
Is that like over almost a month or period or something.
What was the
like that?
time frame on
And
that?
we had about a month process.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, that Sunday before the Monday where we made him the offer. That's the day I called Dan and said, Kenny this is the candidate we want to move forward with, and Dan gave the blessing and was like, go make your hire. It was interesting because he's actually coaching right now for Olympic national team with France. And I spoke to his agent. I said, I'm going to try to call him now to offer him the job. Will I be able to get him? He was in practice, probably rebounding for Victor Wembanyama. And so I called him, and I was worried he was going to ring out. I got to like 5 rings. I'm like, I'm trying to offer him a job. He grabs it, and I could tell he's kind of like fumbling around. He gets out the gym, and I said, Coach, are you in practice? He said, yeah, I'm in practice. I said, I was worried I was going to get you. And he said, no, I was going to take this one. So that was kind of the process. But no, he grabbed it all the way from Paris. We had a great conversation. We offered him the job that Monday. And then he got to town, to your question, on Wednesday, the day of the draft. And he's been with us ever since. And I think he's going to have to head back out because he wants to finish the job with France, even though I'm still USA basketball. But, but no, it's totally on brand for me to call him and he's in the middle of a practice, right? That's Kenny.
Koby, just what are maybe a couple of things that really stood out from him compared, not to put down your other candidates, but you had to pick one, and there had to be a couple of reasons behind it, and also a couple of things about him to take this team where JD had it now and make it better. What does he bring that's going to make that happen?
I mean, we talked about the experience level, Terry. We talked about his head coaching experience, what he learned there, how he created a program really from nothing, from scratch. I mean, that Brooklyn program, and give Sean Marks a lot of credit for what he did with very limited assets to make the coaching hire he made and develop the talent that they did to get to a playoffs was pretty remarkable. I don't think he gets enough credit for the job he did in Brooklyn. And then his stops along the way with really high level, respected Hall of Fame level coaches. His yearn to learn, he sought out these different opportunities to grow. He's super curious. And he sort of fits how we're driving this thing. How do we continue to get better? He's innovative. His approach is creative. I think we're going to see a lot of different lineups, a lot of different strategy. How we use Evan this year is going to be pretty cool. I love the relationship piece that he has with guys. I think, when we started out, we talked about the 22 wins 5 years ago. Our whole foundation was going to be built on player development. And even though we made a conference semis and we've won 99 games the last 2 years, that's all well and good, but we don't want to lose focus on that. And at his core, that's who he is. He wants to be on the floor with guys. He wants that sweat equity with guys. And when you have an Evan Mobley who's 23 and a Darius Garland who's 24, they have not reached their potential yet at all, right? They've not peaked yet at all. And so when you have a coach that's fastball as player development, and you do your research around the game, and that's all they say, the best player development coach you can possibly find, that gives me solace to know that program that we have is going to be the best in the world. And we're going to continue to get guys better. Even the Donovan Mitchells of the world, right? The idea that we can't improve him with Kenny is asinine. We're going to be able to improve, and guys can continue to have the best years of their career in Cleveland. And so when you have that foundation, that root, that really spoke to us, along with all the experience that I talked about as well.
Nate Ulrich, Akron Beacon Journal. Hey, Kenny, speaking of Brooklyn, which Koby just touched on, what are some of the main lessons that you took from that experience that you apply now, having a previous head coaching job?
Oh man, I've changed. My experience after Brooklyn, and like Koby said, I think it was strategic. The way I approached it, getting with Ty Lue with the Clippers, and we ended up going to a conference finals, but just definitely a different philosophy, a different approach than what I was used to. So I soaked it in. It was a great, just a great experience, observation experience, and had the utmost respect for him. And then obviously, going to Golden State and Steve Kerr, it was, again, a different take, a different way of doing it. And man, that really opened up, my eyes. He definitely had, different approach than I did. So using those, I think using those, my experience with those two situations can make me a better coach. And I sold that to Koby. I said, I look back on Brooklyn, man, there's so many things I could do better. And then I saw it live. I saw it, I was in the, kind of in the bus, like, look, how does Steve do it? How does Ty do it? And that's really gonna, I think it's really gonna help me. And then the last thing, I do think I'm one of my strengths is I think the league is changing, like we talked about, and just getting can you get ahead of the league? What's happening? How quickly is it happening? How are we shifting? And I think me and my staff, that'll be a strength of ours. We'll be able to kind of be right with the league or be a step ahead.
Hi, Kenny. Danny Cunningham, Cleveland
Hi, Danny.
Magazine. With Evan, you touched upon earlier how much more growth there can be. How much do you think he can get better just by amping the pace a little bit offensively?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. And I'm not going to give you the specific tactics, and he's generally got to have the ball in his hands more, but also the transition piece is a big part of that. I have a lot of experience with watching kind of forwards, strong, power forwards and centers, bringing the ball in transition. So I think it's a strength of his, how he runs the court. So that's something that I think that's one of the shifts you'll see. You'll see him more in transition with the ball, and then without the ball, he kind of knows the places he's running where we can get him the ball.
And then for you, over the last several years, there have been a number of opportunities where your name's popped up. What made this the right time for you to be a head coach again?
Oh, man, I just pinch how lucky I am, right? Like, not to disparage any other program or any other experience I was involved in, but I kind of knew vision-wise, like watching what Koby and his group has done and how they've taken off here, and again knowing a lot of the players that are here, like I'm just extremely lucky that kind of the time and place of all this happening. I know what a great opportunity is. So very lucky. It was lucky.
Hi, Kenny. Sam
Hi,
Amico,
Sam.
Hoopswire. Is your staff, have you got your staff together? And the other question is, what is that process like in terms of, hiring assistants? How do you go about that?
Yeah, I think we are working on it together. Koby and the front office and me, and I think again how I work, it's a collaborative effort. We're going to try to bring the strongest staff around these guys. I think it's tricky, right? Like it is. There's a lot of moving pieces. So there's a lot of talented people, a lot of talented staff out there. So we're in the process of getting that together.
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Jim.
Jimmy Watkins, Cleveland.com. We've talked a lot about your player development background. Koby called it your fastball, and it seems like sometimes coaches with that background get labeled as more fit for young teams.
Yeah.
Why do you think that perception exists, and how do you think your player development background can accentuate the veterans on this team?
Well, we're young, so it does kind of fit. We're still that's incredible, right? Like kind of Warriors. We had guys mid-30. We're a young team, but again. And you said it at the end there. It's not just the young, right? It's the veterans too. It's Donovan top 15. Is it? Can we get you in top 5? It's everybody across the kind of, and player development kind of gets us just kind of labeled a little bit. It's like, well, no, wait, that's like coaching. Like this, that's you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a little bit of a buzzword. So that's what the greatest coaches in this, in this league have done throughout history. So, and then I do think, there is I have a lot of playoff experience, playoff experience as a head coach, but also as an assistant, right? Like being in intense moments and being in conference finals, playing against LeBron, like scheming against all these great players. So I think the tactics part, and again, with the strong staff around me, like I think we're going to nail that. I think I kind of relish that. I think that's an area that I really enjoy. I mean, that's a big reason to come in here, to play in those games and to make those decisions. They're going to get us to the next level.
And you mentioned your experience with Golden State. You even thanked them in your opening statement.
Yeah.
How are you different as a coach after going through that experience on Steve's staff?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Steve Kerr, right? Like I just think he's 9 championships, right? So he had the player. He could talk about the Chicago Bulls experiences. His experience in Cleveland. He said he used to chase around Mark Price like crazy. Like Mark used to just kill him in practice all the time. He's got this incredible background, and obviously Phil Jackson, all the great coaches. He's got that, and then obviously the Golden State experience, going from the kind of the media to that whole evolution, and then just watching how he dealt with superstars, right, like Steph and Draymond and Clay, and what that all looked like. What did that look like on a daily? What did it look like when you had to make the big decisions in the room, in a playoff series, in a finals against the Celtics, whatever it could be? So just I just think here I am just getting all this wealth. As a wealth of information. It's like getting an MBA. It's like getting your doctorate in basketball, where maybe I was just, an undergraduate, that's kind of the stark difference when you see like Kobe's, you're talking about Hall of Fame coaches, Ty and Steve. It's just unbelievable experience.
Spencer Davies, Cavs Insider. Kenny, you talked about the core four quite a bit. Just wanted to get your kind of opinion on the depth of this team and how important it is to utilize that even throughout the regular season.
You just depth. I just excite. Yeah, the depth is when you look across the league, there's not many teams with the depth that we have, and I've always been a big believer is you have to develop your bench. It's a big part of this. It's a big part of the big picture. Playing a lot of players, and not only develop your bench, but I think you can find guys. They need opportunity. Guys towards the end of the bench, middle of the bench, again, part of the thing I sold to Koby and the group was, I've done that. I think my third year in Brooklyn, I don't think anybody played more than 30 minutes a game. We spread the wealth, and I think we found players that way, and you can still win that way. Now, am I sitting here saying Donovan Mitchell's going to play 25 minutes a game? No, but we are going to use our bench, and we are good. And Steve, Steve was me and Steve would. Now we are, especially early, middle. We're, and I think that helps you in the playoff. I think it helps the locker room. Helps guys get better because they have opportunity, and it's going to help you when playoff time comes, when you need that. And you guys have had that experience, right? In Cleveland, as Richard Jefferson, you've had guys in the past that, man, all of a sudden we need the 11th guy. It's game 4, and so struggling. Boom, he comes in and makes a difference. So we're going to embrace that mentality, the bench mentality.
And this is kind of an open-ended question, but what's the key to connecting with a player as a coach?
Oh, transparency, honesty, and then what's behind that is love and care, right? Like it's you got to be kind of super transparent, honest with them, and then you're I think of my Jared Allen experience where I was coach him hard, but I also I took him in the gym and said your numbers going up in these rafters, and I really believe that, like you were that talented, so that that where you really believe in them, but you also got to coach them and be honest with them.
Kenny, you mentioned your experience in Golden State and how Steve handled superstar players. You didn't really have that as much in Brooklyn. It was a different category of player.
Yeah.
So whether it was in Los Angeles with Paul or Kawhi, or Golden State with those guys, what specifically did you learn about that that you think can help you with somebody like Donovan?
I think what I observed, in both those plays, more one-on-ones, more individual conversations. I think you're partnering with your best players. It's a partnership, and Ty was great at. Steve was a master at it. Where when you're making big decisions in the big, sure you're the ultimate decision maker. There's no doubt about it. But you have talked that through. You've talked through it with your best players, and a lot of my experience. A lot of times, they might say no. Why don't we do this in the pick and roll? Why don't we do this? And so really, it's a true partnership, and that means you better be a great listener. When you do have those one-on-ones, and you're not taking maybe every idea they have, but you're implementing some of them, and it's going to help. Obviously help the team.
And Koby, for you, where do you guys stand with extension talks related to Donovan?
So we were just out in LA for his camp, his elite camp with Adidas. That was in a great space. I don't want to talk specifics until we can. We feel good about Donovan. He's in a great space mentally. He's healthy. He was out there with those young high school players, hooping in a really good space. Really enjoyed the fact that him and Kenny could sit down and talk about the future, talk about the team. He's still under contract right now, so I think we can talk about him as a Cavalier. And so, he's invested. He's really invested in what we're doing. And, hopefully soon we'll have more of a decisive answer on that for you. But he's been great. He's been super involved and super collaborative and very, very much pro Cleveland.
Hey, Kenny, right in front of you here. Tim Elkhorn, Cavs Radio play-by-play. A lot of talk about Brooklyn pouring over those numbers when you were the head coach. Pace, 3 balls, near or at the top of the league. Is that the Kenny Atkinson philosophy that continues here, or does roster and lineups alter that at all?
That's at my core. Yes, that's a philosophy, but I think it's like I said in the beginning, it's getting to know this team better, and that's the process I'm in. How getting to know this team better, getting to know the players better, getting to know their strengths and weaknesses. But at the core, I think you saw it this year in the finals. The court is spread. The 3 ball is a huge part of it, and I do anticipate picking up the pace. Shooting more threes, crashing the glass a little more. I think that's something we could do better. So, but again, we're going to do whatever the tweaks necessary, to get this to the next level tactically. So definitely gotta we're hard at work figuring that out right now.
You mentioned the finals, Boston NBA champs. Some of the reports out there that other teams in the East are making some pretty significant moves. Where do you see the Cavs falling as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned and stacking up with the other teams in the East?
Yeah, I've always been this way. I'm like Cavs focused. I'm just, it's always been my process. Sure, I'm aware of the league. I obviously watched the league and I watched trends. I definitely know what other teams are doing in the league. But I just think if I'm singularly focused on this team, with the old, the old Bill Walsh quote, follow the process, the results are going to come. And I just believe that. That's a model I've seen with great coaches I've been with, but it's also my philosophy.
Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.